Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Good.
Yeah, look at my hair. It's so cute right now.
Oh, it's cute. Hey, that's the kind of motorcycle that Paul has, a Triumph. Oh, wait.
American made. What?
Oh, that's awesome.
Gotta represent.
Yes. That's all. I'll have to tell him that you wore a Triumph motorcycle tank top because mine has.
I got it at Lucky, the outlet
Oh,
store. Is that what it's
yes.
called? Lucky brand or Lucky or something like that?
Okay. Yeah.
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 So
Oh,
cute.
that's awesome. Hi, Catherine.
Hi.
How was your deposition today?
Oh, it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. The witness was a little difficult to understand, but
Uh, but I'm
got
sure
through it.
good experience, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good pace. It was like the ones I've gone on, like I've struggled with some of the real life stuff that happens, like them talking over each other and the stuff that you don't get in dictation. And
Right.
it was like a good pace for me to like catch up. Like I was getting pretty much everything. Like so I was able to work on some of that. But
Good.
um
Awesome.
it was fun. It was
Good.
hot in the room though. I was like, it was so stuffy. I'm like, this is like nap temperature, like where you just want to like slowly fall asleep, you know?
I'm
But
surprised that the attorneys weren't saying something about that. Like,
they all said something, but no one did anything about it. They all just they were like, yeah, it is a little stuffy in here, isn't it? And then they just went on.
That's so
gosh.
funny.
Yeah.
So
All right.
Anyway.
Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. I'll mute everybody. All right. So we'll get started with common words. Okay. Here we go. Next, always, love, said, copy 3, use, upon, here, book, being, morning, every, business, night, number, back, then, soon, people, however, receive, because it's, until, place, price, date, better, tell, today, sure, believe, mother, such, enough, course, each, present, credit, enable, days, old, kind, feel, ago, information, ask, best, off, note, without, amount, office, check, house, yet, under, many, through, never, most, put, service, great, once, possible, big, cannot, own, man, another, shipment, part, right, herewith, advise, into, company, sending, enclosed state, since, interest, down, pay, than, having, receipt, try, long, quite, car, boy, tomorrow, correct, winter, freight, sick, April, side, red, mean, chance, direct, pay. All right. So here are some names, proper names with spellings. Carol J. Campbell, Campbell. Mason B. Gross, Gross. Butler C. Derrick, Derrick. David C. Charette, Charet. Cheryl L. Ammons, Ammons. Kenneth L. Holland, Holland. Hazel C. Tanner, Tanner. R.F. Tucker, Tucker. George Busby, Busbee. Hampton J. Hollingsworth, Hollingsworth. John C. McWhorter, Mcwhorter. Jason Balfe, Balfe. Joseph Rubinstein, Rubinstein. Hilbert Ihari, Ihrie. Deborah Greco, Greco. J. Craig Evans, Evans. Dr. Lawton Goucher, Galcher, Merrill Weltz, Weltz, Lowell McLove, Mclove, Arthur Rothenberg, Rothenberg, Karen Hauser, Hauser, Ellen Eckley, Eckley, and Kenneth Ramey, Ramey. All right. Common phrases. You're going to phrase as much as possible. Can't phrase it all, but just phrase what you can. Does he recall? Do I recall? Had recalled? Have recalled? He recalled? He recalls. I can't recall. I didn't recall. I don't recall. I recall. I recalled. If he recalls, if I recall, it recalled. It recalls. May recall. Must have recalled. Must recall. Shall recall. She recalled. She recalls. Should have recalled. Should recall. So he recalled. So he recalls. So I recall. So I recalled. So you recall. So you recalled. That he recalled. That he recalls. That I recall. That I recalled. That you recall. That you recalled. They recall. They recalled. To have recalled. To recall. We recall. We recalled. What he recalled. What he recalls. What I recall. What I recalled. What you recall. What you recalled. When he recalled. When he recalls. When you recall. After a while, to start, it's hard to say them. Some of those, it's like, I swear I just said that same thing, but it's just changing one word. All right, so here are some words that start with IN, okay? Inadmissible, inaccessible, inaccurate, inaction, inactive, inadequate, indecent, indecision, independent, indestructible, indifferent, indirect, inefficient, ineligible, inequality, inescapable, inadvisable, inalterable, inanimate, inarticulate, inattentive, inaudible, incapable, incomparable, incompatible, inexact, inexcusable, inexpensive, inexperience, inexperienced, informal, inhumane, inhuman, inoperative, incompatible, incomplete, inconceivable, inconclusive, inoperative, insane, inane, insanely, insecure, insensitive, insubordinate, insufficient, invalid, inconsiderate, inconsistent, inconspicuous, inconvenient, incorrect, incredible, incurable. All right. Today's trash day. So if you guys hear the loud noise, it's because the trash, they're late today. So right now they're, I think, in front of my house. All right. So this drill is going to be the buy and buy drill. So BY versus BUY. Okay. So I'm going to give you the phrases first and then the sentences. Buy then, buy now, will buy, may buy today, can buy 5, shall buy 9, could buy 4, might buy there, should buy here, would buy night, does buy. Did you buy it new? I'll go by train, buy a new watch. Buy then you'll see, sit down by me, buy a new washer for me. Walk by the house, buy up the stock, set it by the door. It was a good buy. Buy the new codes, leave by the exit. Buy some new lamps, line up 2 by 2. Buy your tickets earlier. Let's go buy the old house. When did you buy that car? It was said by the judge. Who will buy these supplies? By the way, where is it? I want to buy a motorcycle. Have they come by here yet? By the way, don't repeat that. I can't buy that argument. Can you finish by noon? I'll buy anything on sale. By whom are you employed? Buy your pass by tomorrow. We are going by boat. Did you buy enough? Go by way of Texas. I just can't buy it. Be in court by 9. One cannot buy the time. Complete it by noon. I want to buy it new. Time went by too fast. Did he buy the goods? Be here by September. He tried to buy time. I went by to see him. Buy a used car. She came home by bus. All right. Now, our next drill is going to be doublets. Here we go. Door hardware, steel fencing, cash registers, die cast molds, carrying case, brewer's malt, electric shaver, iron castings, children's wear, curtain call, fiberglass boat, aluminum door, bulletin boards, overhead door, store fixtures, commercial art, ladies apparel, heat exchanger, auto accessory, glass blowing, burglar alarm, flame cutting, desk set, pet food, chrome plating, hanging plants, electric fans, glass container, garden supplies, grain exchange, feed supplement, pressure gauges, greeting cards, foot appliance, customs broker, steel, foreigner, lamp accessory, harbor facility, career choice, nurses registry, machined parts, garment hangers, lawn mowers, ornamental iron, light fixtures, hand cleaner, dust collectors, conduit fittings, driving schools, concrete blocks, private clubs, plastic coating, drapery fabrics, and floor coverings. All right. Now, these words focus on final consonant compounds on the final side, okay? Rifle, soft, find, waffle, raft, round, ruffle, loft, hand, stifle, deft, send, muffle, rift, land, baffle, left, tend, chirp, mourn, girl, tarp, learn, burl, warp, iron, earl, carp, fern, furl, burp, barn, knurl, curl, turn, harp, tent, farm, ark, pant, firm, Turk, rent, warm, lark, hunt, arm, hark, scent, harm, jerk, count, form, lurk, urge, part, double, large, sort, table, merge, court, rubble, barge, heart, fable, dirge, curt, bubble, surge, tart, feeble, card, curse, colt, bald, sword, farce, silt, build, lard, pierce, felt, hold, herd, fierce, built, told, toward, hearse, salt, sold, and hard, force, lilt, bold. All right, now I've got some sentences that focus on initial SL, initial SW, final LG, final RM, final PG, final NG, okay? Slide down on your sled. She was slow to slap him. Don't slip on the slate. Dye it to be slim and slender. Swat the fly with the swatter. She swore by her Swiss watch. She could swim like a swan. Switch to a new sweater. She was telling about mailing it. They were selling the railing. He was yelling about the sailing. She was failing at bowling. The bang came from the wing. It was wrong to join the gang. She sang a song. Ring the gong. She is typing the shipping bill. Hopping is keeping her busy. Heaping it will cause seeping. He is hoping to keep shopping. Don't harm the farm. Use the right arm for the form. The school marm taught all the term. The worm is in the storm. All right. And then my very last drill that I have for you going to be initial consonants on the initial side, okay? So it's initial consonants KR. Here we go. Good credit lends credence to the critical. A creditor's creed is credulous. The creek took his creel to the creek. Creepy critters cry critically. The cremator uses a crematory for cremating. The critical crest of the creek is near. The criminals crowded over the cricket. Crimson is created by cross-coloring. On a crisp morning, a crisis was created. She created a problem despite the critics. I heard the critter croak by the crocodile. The crook was a crony of the crowd. Crouching and crying chronologically creates a crisis. That was a cruel, crude crush on the crust. All right. I always wonder who sits down and thinks of all these sentences. All right, let's do some literary. And this is called Small Business Regulations. I'm going to start at 180 and I will work my way to 225, okay? All right. Let me just date this so I know that we've covered it in class. All right, here we go. Mr. President, today the Senate takes a major step forward in creating a more fair, a more efficient, and a more responsive federal regulatory system for small business in this country by the enactment of the Regulatory Flexibility Act. With the passage of this act, federal regulations can be developed only after agencies thoroughly assess their impact on small businesses, small organizations, or small governmental jurisdictions. Agencies will be required to assess the cost of compliance with regulations for small businesses. They will have to prepare an assessment of the paperwork burden which a new regulation would impose, and they will have to give small businesses a greater opportunity to participate in shaping the rules which would affect them. By passing this legislation, the Senate is finally addressing one of the most pressing problems facing our nation's small businesses, local governments, and small organizations, which is the problem of complying with hundreds of thousands of complex regulations, which apply across the board to every business, government, or other organization without regard to the differences in size or resources. Every senator has heard America's small businessmen and women express outrage because they believe they have suffered unfairly from burdensome federal regulations. This is not the result of the willful intent of regulators to single out small businesses to comply with the costly regulations. Rather, it is more often a failure of federal regulatory agencies to apply common sense when drafting complex or conflicting rules without giving an adequate consideration to the resources or the ability of smaller entities to comply with them. Over the past 2 decades, our country has made great strides in providing safer places for our citizens to work, cleaner air to breathe, and water to drink, and ensuring the manufacturing of safer goods. Many of these benefits are the result of new laws which Americans still support and which continue to provide important safeguards for all of us. It is not the intent of regulatory flexibility legislation to undermine these important achievements. Rather, it is a recognition that we can do better in implementing these laws. In our efforts to secure benefits for the public at large, we have created a conflicting standard or needlessly complex reporting or compliance requirements of small businesses. This legislation requires agencies to address that problem squarely and directly. The best example of failure to use common sense has taken place in regulations which are often written to apply uniformly to small and big businesses alike, to big cities and to small rural towns alike, and to major national organizations and local nonprofit community groups without any distinction. The Regulatory Flexibility Act will encourage agencies to make that distinction while still complying with the basic intent of the law. Basically, it establishes the principles that regulations can and should be designed to fit the scale and abilities of the institutions being regulated. The measure spells out a series of new procedural steps to assure that the regulatory agencies in carrying out their statutory mandates carefully consider the needs and interest of small entities. Except for these steps, the bill does not alter present procedural requirements, nor does it amend in any fashion any substantive law. We intend the agencies to continue to enforce those laws in a fully effective fashion. Indeed, we believe that the added management tool we are providing in this legislation will increase the agency's ability to do so. Mr. President, the passage of this bill represents 3 years of work on regulatory flexibility. I wish to thank my distinguished colleague, Senator Faylord Nelson of Wisconsin, who with me first introduced the bill in August of 2009. His leadership as a chairman of the Senate Small Business Committee has helped establish a range of new federal policies and programs to benefit the small business. The Senate passed it unanimously in the 95th Congress. I would also like to thank Senator Paul Laxalt of Nevada, whose work on regulatory reform and regulatory flexibility has proved invaluable. In the 95th Congress, the subcommittee of the Administrative Practice and Procedures held a series of hearings on the need to reform the federal regulatory process. Case after case was presented to the subcommittee, documenting the unfair and unequitable impact which the uniform regulations can have on small businesses, local governments, and all of the other small organizations. These are the very entities often least able to cope with mounting red tape and the paperwork. So the mayor of Fort Madison, Iowa, Robert Hatala, told the subcommittee that uniform regulations have a disproportionate impact on small cities, which the lack of financial resources and capacity to comply with those regulations are there. Because of this disproportionate impact, small cities must hire costly consultants where large cities can rely on their own staff, limit the size and scope of the projects, or if they can, choose not to take part in a particular program. A small car wash owner in Marshalltown, Iowa, told us that if she had been forced to comply with certain regulations proposed by the Environmental Protection Agency, she would have to closed her business. She added that there are 148,000 car washes in the United States or more, all of which are small businesses. This is going to cost a lot of jobs if this kind of regulation comes through. Small business people are really getting discouraged. They are not only fighting inflation and fighting to try to get the consumer to come to their business when their disposable income is going down, but they are fighting the rules and regulations, and more regulations are happening every day. They are really getting discouraged. Since those hearings, the momentum for regulatory flexibility has grown. At almost every meeting I have had with small business owners in Iowa, the major topic of the discussion has been the need to revitalize the economy and, more specifically, the need to ease the burden of federal paperwork. Reams of reports and answers to questions from the federal agencies are a constant source of headaches for small business operators all over the country. All right, let's do some jury charge. This is on housebreaking. All right. I'm just stating this so I know we covered it. All right, here we go. Again, I'm going to start at 180, but I'll work my way to 225, okay? All right, here we go. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. At this time, I will state the law of the case to you, and then you will retire to deliberate on your verdict. Please recall my emphasis on prior occasions that our state constitution prohibits me from either directly or indirectly expressing an opinion as to any factual aspect of the case. The facts are for you and you alone to determine, and I leave them up to you. It would be highly inappropriate for me to attempt to violate a constitutional prohibition such as this, and I have not and will not do so. So you are to disregard me entirely as far as the facts are concerned. All of my rulings, for instance, during the course of the trial have been pre-dictated on what I have conceived the law of the evidence to be. By overruling an objection, I am merely saying to myself and to you, as I understand the law of the evidence, I am required to let the jury pass on this. If I sustain an objection, I am holding as a matter of law, as I understand the law of the evidence, that it would be an error for this to be brought out during the course of the trial. So you and I emphasize again, determine the facts. You are vested with two powers, to assist you in arriving at your conclusion as to the factual aspects of the case. One is whether you do or do not give the weight to the evidence, and if you do determine to give the weight, the amount of weight. Evidence includes not only the spoken word, which we call the testimony, but it extends to the entire record testimony, plus any exhibits, papers, pictures, which may have been introduced into the record. Then too, you are the sole judges of the believability of the witnesses you have heard. You may believe all, part, or nothing that a witness tells you. You may consider the attitude of a witness on the stand. You may consider the opportunity a witness had to observe those events concerning the witness's testimony. You may consider any bias or prejudice, or simply the appearance or similar characteristics, if you find such to be present, with respect to any witness or witnesses in a case. The defendant is indicted on several counts here, to which I have previously made reference to. I told you I removed, as a matter of law, the one which charged armed robbery. The others I have left for your consideration, and by doing so, I do not intimate any opinion as to what you should or should not find with reference to the facts and to your ultimate verdict. I previously told you that the indictment does not constitute evidence in any manner or to any extent, but merely permits the trial to be held. The state must prove the guilt of an accused beyond a reasonable doubt before there may be a conviction as to any particular count in the indictment. The defendant has entered a plea of not guilty. He is presumed to be not guilty, and this presumption carries throughout the entire trial unless it is removed by evidence satisfying you of guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. This term means what would imply not a fanciful, whimsical, or capricious doubt, but a reasonable doubt, sometimes called a substantial doubt. It is a doubt arising out of the testimony and or evidence in the case, or the lack of testimony or evidence in a case, which leaves the mind of a fair and impartial juror in a wavering and unsettled condition after the juror has fairly and impartially considered all of the testimony and evidence in the case. I further charge you that the fact that a defendant does not testify cannot be held or charged or considered by you against him in any manner or to any extent. I also charge you that where it is undertaken by the state to prove the guilt of an accused by circumstantial evidence, not only must the evidence and circumstances be proven, but they must be wholly and must point to a moral certainty to the guilt of the accused. They must be wholly and in every particular perfectly confident with each other, and they must further be absolutely inconsistent with any other reasonable hypothesis than the guilt of the accused. One charge in the indictment, which is for your consideration, is a charge of housebreaking, which is set forth in section 16-332 of our Code of Laws. As it then existed, it is now in another section under a newer code, but the statute is identical. It says, every person who shall break and enter, or who shall break with intent to enter in the daytime, any dwelling house or other house, or who shall break and enter, or shall break with intent to enter in the nighttime, any house or the breaking or entering of which would not constitute burglary, with the intent to commit a felony or other crime of lesser grade, shall be guilty of a felony. Now, there are several elements which must be established by the requisite of burden of proof. There must be a breaking, there must be an entering, and both must be accompanied with an intent to commit some crime once the breaking and entering has been accomplished. By breaking, a breaking may occur by merely opening a closed door or a door that is partially open, but not sufficiently to permit entry, and it requires a further opening in order to enter. There must be an entering, which means a going into, and both, as I say, must be accompanied with an intent to commit a crime once the breaking and entering has occurred. By intent, we mean as an aim, purpose, or a goal. Larceny is the taking and carrying away of the goods or the things personal of another, personal property as distinguished from the real estate. It may be money as well. Right. How are we doing on time? Good. Doing great. Okay, I'm going to do one more. This is a small paragraph for, it's on the duty of jurors. Okay, I'm going to read this at 2:25. Okay, let me just date it, and it's one paragraph. All right. Here we go. The duty of jurors. Okay, let me wind my watch up here. Okay, here we go. It is sometimes difficult for 6 men and women to agree on any important issue, especially if it is controversial. Hence, a jury would hardly be expected to reach an agreement without considerable reasoning together and laying aside all extraneous matters and considering the various viewpoints and suggestions of the individual members with an eye single to the truth. Therefore, it is your duty as jurors to consult with one another and to deliberate with a view to reaching an agreement, if you can do so without violence to your individual judgment. You each must decide the case for yourself, but you should do so only after a consideration of the case with your fellow jurors. You should not hesitate to change your opinion when convinced that it is erroneous. But of course, there should be no surrender of a well-considered, conscientious opinion. Okay, so that was at 225. Right, so let's do some Q&A. All right, so I'll start at 180, work my way to 225. Looks like plaintiff is questioning. Okay, direct examination. All right, here we go. What is your name, sir? Frank Grayson. What is your occupation? I'm with the North Carolina Wildlife. Mr. Grayson, where do you live? I live approximately 12 miles west of Hickory Way on Highway 34 near Salem Crossroads. Do you live there with your wife and one son? Were you living there on the 25th of March of this year? Yes. Sir, did anything unusual occur at your home that day? Yes, sir. As I approached my home at approximately 12:30 p.m., I pulled in the driveway. I spotted this white van that was backed up in my carport. I knew then that there was something wrong, so I called for some assistance to come and meet me. After I got confirmation that the assistance was coming, I stepped out of my car and I heard my glass door open in the basement. At that time, I pulled my gun and stepped over toward my brick fence. I spotted this man coming up beside the wall with a pistol in his hand. He had the pistol kind of in this position. I yelled at him to drop the pistol. He still held it in that position. In another second, I yelled at him again to drop the pistol. He still held it there for another 2 or 3 seconds, and then he dropped it. At that time, I made him put his hands on his head and walked him on up the bank towards me with my gun to his back. I tried to keep him between me and the carport because I kind of suspected there was another man in my house. A passerby, my neighbor, saw me walking him back to my car, and he stopped and wanted to know if I needed any help. I said, if you don't mind, I would like for you to call 911 because I'm afraid there is somebody else in my house. So he did. Okay, is that person that you said had the pistol? You saw him there at your house. Is he in the courtroom? Yes, sir. Where is he? Right over there. Is he the one you put the handcuffs on? Yes, sir. That's the guy that we put the handcuffs on. Did you ask him at the time, was there anybody else in the house? Yes, sir, I did. What did he tell you? He told me there wasn't nobody else in the house, that he was the only one that broke in my house. What did you do then? At that time, after I got the handcuffs on him, I asked him, was there anybody else in the house? And he swore to God that there wasn't nobody else in the house. Did you look at the pistol? After a few seconds went by, I went and picked up the pistol that he had. I looked at the pistol, and it was my pistol that he had come out of the house with. I asked him, I said, where did you get this pistol? He said, I got it out of your house. I looked at it, and it said NCWRD, which is North Carolina Wildlife Resource Department. What kind of pistol was it? It was a Smith & Wesson .38. Was it loaded? Yes, sir. Where did you keep the pistol in your house? I kept it in my bedroom in my chest of drawers. Did any assistants arrive? Yes, sir. Deputy Saylor arrived, and then the 3 other officers arrived. Officer Lockley, Keith Fingerrouse, and Gary Dodson. Okay, did you look at the van before you went in the house? Yes, sir, I did. What was in the van? There were stacks of articles that had come out of my house, had just piled up in the van, my personal articles, my personal belongings, and okay, what kind of stuff? Well, there was my television, an iPad, guns, shotguns, cell phones, my computer. It was a list of stuff. I don't know how many items there were in there. I took an inventory of the stuff that came out of my house, my birth certificate, you know, stuff like that. Okay, do you recognize this? Yes, sir. What is this? It's a list of articles that came out of that house that were already in the van. Already in the van? Yes, sir. Except for the pistol? Except for the pistol, yes, sir. Did you make this list out? Yes, sir. Now, I noticed that you have a price on the items. Whose writing is that? That is my wife's writing. The price down here. Who made the estimate of the value of the property? Me and my wife. Did you make an estimate yourself? We both did, yes, sir. And as to what items did you place the value on, sir? Well, the television was one thing. And what did you put on it? I believe it was worth about $1,000. What other items did you place the value on? You mean personally? Yes, sir, you personally. My shotgun. How much was that? It was about $850. What kind of shotgun? Winchester, the .22 rifle. How much did you put on that? About $850. I also had a Smith & Wesson pistol. How much did you put on that? $775, I believe, is what it was. Is your wife available as a witness? No, sir, she's not. She's working. Okay, well, we can call her in later, at a later time. Now, where does your wife work? Oh, she works for the Lincoln Bridal Company in Lincoln Town. Okay, we can get her here at a later time. Okay, what condition was your television in? Well, the screen was on the corner. The screen was broken and it was scratched up real bad. When I saw it, that was the way it was, but it was not like that before this happened. Once they moved it back in the house, it wouldn't work. What condition was it in when it was in the house? It was in good condition. Was the screen broken on it? No, sir, and no scratches. When you looked at it in the van, what condition was it in? Like I said, the corner of the screen was cracked and it was scratched up real bad. Where, if any place, did you take this defendant? Well, after Deputy Saylor got there, Deputy Saylor read him his rights. We searched the house, then he was transported to jail by Deputy Saylor. Did you go on up to the jail? Later on, yes, sir. All right, let's switch transcripts, okay? Now, this is the one that has to do with the pesticides, okay? So you guys are gonna hear, I think today I was kind of looking through it. You're gonna hear the, let's see. You're gonna hear the tebuthioron, tebuthioron. It's T-E-B-U-T-H-I-U-R-O-N, tebuthioron. Okay, it's a type of pesticide. You're gonna hear spike. They're also talking about the pesticides. This guy is suing, he bought a house, I think it was a new house, and they put some pesticide on there and it made his daughter or son really sick. So that's what this case is about. All right, so defense is questioning, okay? All right, here we go. So again, we're gonna start at 180 and work our way to 225. You don't recall having seen those materials before? No. Okay. I don't think I have seen this because this is not related to me. You don't think you have seen Exhibit JJ before? No, it's just a correspondence between the lawyer. Is that it? Not quite, counsel. I'm trying to get out all of the medical, regardless of which Mr. Databoy relates to, in his possession. Okay, this is also the paper. Let's take a break for a second. Back on the record. We were talking about finishing up the documents and taking a lunch break before we got into the photographs. Yes, because it is noon and we are going to be here all day. So is that agreeable to everyone? It certainly is. Okay, you have handed me 2 more things, Mr. Atkinson. Some blue attending physician statements, 5 of them. Can you tell me what that is? This is the flyer after we heard from the neighbor that Mr. What's his name? Landlord has sprayed some kind of chemical. And real quick, you guys, I'm going to tell you. So the reporter here has Mr. and then what's his name is, she's got what's his name, lowercase, but hyphen. What's hyphen his hyphen name. And then Mr. is capital M, you know, just like Mr. But you don't usually hear that, Mr. What's his name. So I just want to share that with you. The landlord has sprayed some kind of chemical because this came off there. People around the area knew that there was some kind of chemical thrown on the lots. When you went to see Dr. Shaw in the latter part of June 2012, that's when you took some scientific articles on Spike's active ingredient, terbutarin, didn't you? I don't remember, I may have. After you supplied those articles to Dr. Shaw, did you ever express any opinion about the active ingredient of Spike and the impact that ingredient might have on your health? He said it might cause you this problem in later stages, but after reading, I don't know what his opinion was on that. I never asked him any questions. Okay, but he may have some. So in other words, he has never expressed to you any opinion about any potential effect Spike or its active ingredient, terbutarin, might have on your health condition. Is that correct? He said a couple of times regarding my son and my daughter that because they never had these symptoms before, so he said that's the only reason they might have this. Now, your son and your daughter, is that who you just identified, never had those conditions before? Right. Have they ever had an upper respiratory tract infection before February of 2012? No, never. Who was your family physician before June 28, 2012? Dr. Ross. Dr. who? Dr. Ross. Where is he located? Alondra, Rosecrans Medical Group. Did you ever have Dr. Ross evaluate either you or any member of your family after the exposure to the dust in February of 2012? Talking about that doctor, Dr. Ross. No. Why did you leave Dr. Ross? Too far. How did you find Dr. Shaw? Through my family. Has any doctor ever expressed to you any opinion that terbutarin does not have any adverse effects of your health? I didn't know about the terbutarin at the time when we were having our medical test. You only knew about the Spike? We only knew Spike, which was the chemical which kills animals and birds and things like that. Not immediately, but sometimes in 5 or 6 or 10 years, that might, I don't understand your answer. Well, I was told by the neighbors that this is a chemical which can kill birds and animals, not immediately, but in later stages, as a slow dying symptom, which might affect human beings in the later stages if we don't take any medical precautions. Okay, who told you that? Which of the neighbors? Everybody around the neighborhood did, and we are concerned much about this particularly losing what we have lost on our property. You say that the neighborhood group expressed a collective opinion that their exposure to the Spike would kill birds and animals and could have, and I have read this in one of the articles, that it is dangerous and it's dangerous for birds and animals. All right, what you also refer to is that proper precaution should be taken. What proper precaution should be taken? Medication, medical treatment, or medical treatment as well as medication. What medical treatment do you feel would be in order after exposure to the dust storms? Well, the doctor has prescribed us some of the antibiotics and things like that, and it has helped. Are you continuing to suffer any symptoms that you attribute to your exposure to the dust? You can get to that later, once in a while. Okay, go ahead. Have you got any more? No. The last one is Exhibit LL. I'm handing that to the witness. Have you seen this before, Mr. Data Boy? Yes, as a matter of fact, this is the first one, I guess. Are those materials, in fact, the insurance policies that cover your house? Probably yes. From the State Farm Insurance and the Title Insurance Company, is that correct? Right. Have you discussed those documents with your attorney? Yes. Can you tell me the substance of that discussion? I'll object to anything stated relating to the documents as attorney-client privilege, and I will instruct him not to answer. Okay, has the witness been previously admonished regarding our rights to go across the street for an order to compel an answer, go ahead and admonish him. First of all, can we stipulate that an instruction by you to your client is deemed on his part to be a refusal to answer the question? I'm not going to do his thinking for him. If he wants to talk to me about some instruction I give to him, he has always felt free to do so in the past. All I'm trying to do is get on the record that we can agree that in the future and at some point in time, that if you instruct your client not to answer, it is deemed to be a refusal to answer on his part. Otherwise, I have to ask you, in fact, refuse to answer the question. I see. Do we have to go through that scenario? No, I'm not going to put you through that. I'll stipulate to that. Okay, thank you. Do you understand that, Mr. Data Boy? Yes. Do you agree with your counsel's instruction? Yes, I do. I have to inform you that we also have a right as a matter of law in this lawsuit to go across the street here to the Superior Court and ask a court to order you to answer the question that I have asked of you. Do you understand that? Yes, I do. As part of that motion, as it is called, the court could order you to pay my attorney's fees and costs. Do you understand that also? Based on your attorney's instruction previously, you do refuse to answer the question, correct? Yes. I think there should be one minor correction to the admonition in that you can't go across the street here in Orange County. You have to go to San Bernardino County to get the order. No problem. Other than that, you have a right to go to San Bernardino County Superior Court to get the order. Okay, fine. Is that it before lunch then? It is, as far as I'm concerned. What time is it? 12 o'clock. Okay, yes, let's break for lunch. 1 o'clock then. We'll be back at 1. What is convenient? 1 o'clock. Okay, that's good. Back on the record. We have just discussed off the record that all of the exhibits that have been produced from exhibits A through JJ here at Mr. Data Boy's deposition are going to be put in a master exhibit book, and that the photos that we are going to go through at this point in time will also be added to this master exhibit file exclusive of Mr. Data Boy's photos to keep the two items separate, as it were. Okay, wait a minute, off the record. My understanding is then that we are stipulating that exhibits A through, we are specifically including KK and LL, exhibits A through, and the photos which we are going to foundationalize and go through at this point in time in the proceedings are going to be placed into a 3-ring binder by the reporter, and that they are going to be deemed the master exhibit list. And we are going to stipulate that these master exhibits and photographs that we are going to identify are equally applicable to each plaintiff's deposition in the case. Yes. What? We can always change it later, Keith, later if it doesn't work out. I don't know what equally applicable means. Is it stipulated though? Sure, yeah, that's right. Okay, now, do you want these pictures now, counsel? Let's go off the record, back on the record. When we go through those photos, I'd like to keep, I'm going to give them all to you. If you want to come over here and sit, it might be easier for you to look at them, look them over, rather than passing them back and forth. These are here, which are related to me. Okay, are there separate photos that Mr. Data Boy has taken himself? Are there any pictures? These are all here. You took these pictures? Yes, most of them. Did you take all of them? Look through them and pick out the ones that you didn't take. I only want the pictures that you took for you to qualify for your deposition. They look so much the same, you know. At this point, I'm handing the reporter all of the exhibits to her custody. I don't want them to get lost or confused or mixed up. This is all taken by me. Put them in a 3-ring binder. That's it. Have you separated those out? Yes. Was this taken by you? No. This is what? Who took these photographs, Mr. Atkinson? Those photographs, Mr. Data Boy said that he took those. These here? Yes, sir. And these photographs were taken by different clients and given to me. All right, so some of these photos, well, were these all taken by the clients and turned over to you? Yes. All clients of this lawsuit? Yes, except the aerial photography here. This was taken by an aerial photographer, I believe. When, Richard? Is the date on the back? I can't, yeah, it says 3/2012. Okay, you believe that to be at or about the date that they were taken? Right, and I tell you who I believe gave these to me. I believe Mr. Briscoe had a friend of his or another client, I can't recall their name, had them taken. I'll find out for you if it becomes important. Okay, so you don't know the name of the aerial photographer? No, sir, I don't. We may have to rework this stipulation a little bit for these photos at this point in time. If you want to take the copies of the photographs or anything like that, you're perfectly welcome to do that too. Do you know if the copies are in this stack in front of me? All I know is that you have everything that I have. Okay, if you need the copies, I'll be glad to inquire from my clients to see. Those are Mr. Data Boys. Can you provide me with the name of the aerial photographer? I'll try to. Yes, I mean, legitimately, I will try to do that. And I'll even try to get, there's another set of aerials that were taken. Shockey is the name of the client that had some additional aerial photography. Okay, do you know which client had these aerial photographs taken? I believe it was Mr. Briscoe. Mr. Briscoe, right. When did Mr. Shockey have other aerial work done? Why? No, when? Oh, no, I can't say for sure. I just don't remember, Keith. Off the record, back on the record, we have agreed that these photos are going to be assembled by the court reporter and placed into those binders for our use at the depositions. And at the end of the deposition, when the last plaintiff's deposition is taken in this case, the reporter is going to make a full set of copies to these and keep them as exhibits to the depositions. And we are going to turn those photos back over to Mr. Atkinson at that point. Okay, and I would just like to say this. We expect to get through these depositions in the next couple of months, I would think. If it starts dragging on, let's say into October, and I feel like I'd like to be using these pictures, I can get them back upon just requesting them with the understanding that they will be returned for copying or, or for your use at any time that you need to finish them. In other words, if I need them back in my office to carry on with my lawsuit, all I would like to do is have copies made first and then turn them back over. That's okay, sure, just a reasonable time after I request them back. You can get the copies made. I just want you so you can go through with your deposition now and use them off the record, back on the record. The other thing too, there will be additional pictures I'm sure that will come in as each, person comes up for a deposition. So you can just add to your album. Okay, is this stipulated amongst us three, defense counsel, or perhaps for the county also, that the master file will be equally accessible to all of us? They don't have a representative here today. I don't know that they have any rights to disagree. I don't know, frankly. I would make mine available to the county if the county needs them. I'm not concerned about the county. I'm concerned about my client, and I'm going to have access to this when I do a cross complaint against Windward Homes, if I do a cross complaint against Windward Homes. Yes, why don't you maintain custody and control of it, and it will be made available to any co-counsel upon 5 days' notice. That's agreeable with us. Fine. Anything else that we are going to add to this? I'd like to establish the foundation for the photographs that Mr. Databoy may have taken with respect to his personal residence. Go ahead, go ahead. Mr. Databoy, are these two folders that contain photographs, are they pictures of your home? Yes, they are. Let's go off the record. Now, I'm going to ask the reporter to have these put in as a hard copy as photographs for the file. Thank you. And lastly, number 10, 14 sheets of copies, many with sections cut out of them. I would like the reporter to also mark these and add them to the master list and have these printed up in a full-sized readable copy. With all of that in mind, I turn it over to the young lady to my right. Mr. Databoy, have you produced any other documents for your deposition today? Do you have anything else, your personal files or notes? I have some. I want everything you have to respond to the request in your deposition. Just put it all up there on the table. I was told to bring the children's school reports. Hand it to me first. Can I make a suggestion to you? Mr. Databoy, just put everything up here on the table. And believe me, just let them go through it and see, and they can ask you the questions. It might save some time, okay? Now, I'm handing you, counsel, what looks to be a report card from Chino Unified School District for 2014 on Kahatsi Databoy. This is for the date ending in June 14, 2014. Yes, let me give you all of these. Get those all out and we will show them. We will mark this first document Exhibit MM for Mr. Databoy's deposition. The next item in line, which we will mark as Exhibit NN, is a certificate of perfect attendance for Kataksi Databoy. Yes. Okay, what year is this? Does it say 2014? Yes, it does. And what are these? The next document, we are marking Exhibit 00. It is entitled Student of the Week with a date of June 15, 2016. Now, Mr. Databoy, I've been handed a 3-ring binder from your attorney. Is that what you are producing in response to our request for documents? Yes, it is. Yes, I'm trying to get them out here. That's part of her schoolwork there. That's too far back? Yes, it is. Okay, 2011. I don't think so. Did what? Would you look at the notice to produce and help me out here? that would cover everything, but those are in numerical order. There's nothing before 2011, is there? No, this is not up to date. Everything back in, just so the record shows what's going on. We have been handed a stack of documents, including the student report cards and the other documents relating to the children. We are sorting through them prior to marking them. Let's go off the record. Back on the record, we are going to stipulate that these documents have been produced by Mr. Databoy and are, right, okay. Okay, I have 9 student report cards, all for Kahatsi Databoy. The 9th one has previously been marked Exhibit MM. I'm going to mark the first 8 in order after that, starting with Exhibit PP, and we will do it PP 1 through 8 before we run out of letters. Now, Mr. Databoy, handing you Exhibit PP 1 through MM. Are all of those report cards from your daughter? Right, yes. And you received those through the mail at your home? Yes. The next exhibit marked NN, entitled Certificate of Perfect Attendance. Is that for your daughter as well? Yes. I'm going to pronounce her name properly. Kahatsi. It is Katiza. Katiza. K-H-A-T-I-E-Z-A. Okay, thank you. She received that from the school that she was enrolled in at the time? Yes, right. I'm handing the witness Exhibit OO. That is also for Kahatsiza? Yes, right. And she got that through her school studies, correct? Right. I don't think you need this, do you? It's already in there. Just keep it in there. Okay, this was 2016. We will leave it with all of the materials. It's all right. We will get all of them back, Mr. Databoy. Don't worry. I'm handing the witness Exhibit QQ. Is that again for your daughter? Yes, it is. What is that particular exhibit? That shows the grade that she passed. Shows the grades that she passed on the year 2012. I'm handing the witness Exhibit RR. That's again for your daughter? Yes, it is. Okay, now do you have the doctor's reports in here? No, I don't. You don't have them in your possession at this time? No, the doctor's, he has it, but he's on vacation. That's why they are not produced today? Right, correct. When do you expect to have those reports? He will be back on the first week of next month. Can we propose that when this transcript is reviewed and signed, that Mr. Databoy will attach the copies at that time? I will attach them or make them available. Hopefully we will get it back. I want to look over the records and have it first, but you will get the copies of it for sure. Okay, so there are no other paperwork that you're going to produce? No. I want to say something. I'm a little confused. What about the paperwork concerning the house, Mr. Databoy? You know, the deed and those type of documents? It was with what we copied this morning. Okay, I didn't see it. Maybe it slipped by me. Do you know where the originals are? In the bank. In the bank? Uh-huh. In a safety deposit box in the bank? Right. What bank is that? Foothill Independent. Okay, so let's do a one-page read back. And again, if you don't want to read back, you can just say pass, but you can still follow along, see how you did. So we're going to do, we'll do the first time at 225 and then at 200 and then again at 180. Okay. And this is going to be defense, questioning. Okay, so the first time at 225 and then 200 and then 180. You can read back whatever one you want. Okay, here we go. Just Q&A. Now, calling your attention to the date of October 18, you were driving a car that was involved in an automobile accident. Isn't that correct? Yes, sir. At approximately what time of day or night did the accident happen? I think it was about 7 p.m. or thereabouts. All right, was it dark? I think it was, sir. Were your headlights on? I think they were. I don't recall. Were the headlights on the other car that struck you? That I wouldn't know, sir. All right, now, was the weather clear and dry? Yes. The streets were dry, weren't they? Yes, they were. Now, at the time of this accident, where were you going? I was going down Valley. That's toward Beach Boulevard, but I don't know whether it is south, east, or west. He meant what was going to be your destination. Where were you going? I was going home. I lived on 5th Avenue. You were going home? Yes, I was. And where were you coming from? Where was I coming from? Yes. Did you come from a movie, a store, or what? I was coming from a friend's house. And what friend was this? What was his name? Jim Carter, C-A-R-T-E-R. Was he in the car with you at the time of the accident? Yes, he was, sir. And for what reason had you been to his house? I was just visiting over at his house. And why was he coming back with you? I was going to drive him to work. On the night of the accident? Yes, sir. All right, so I said he instead of I, so I'm making a note of that. All right, let's do it again then at 200. Now, calling your attention to the date of October 18, you were driving a car that was involved in an automobile accident. Isn't that correct? Yes, sir. At approximately what time of day or night did this accident happen? I think it was about 7 p.m. or thereabouts. All right, was it dark? I think it was, sir. Were your headlights on? I think they were. I don't recall. Were the headlights on the other car that struck you? That I wouldn't know, sir. All right, now, was the weather clear and dry? Yes. The streets were dry, weren't they? Yes, they were. Now, at the time of this accident, where were you going? I was going down Valley, that's toward Beach Boulevard, but I don't know whether it is south, east, or west. I meant what was going to be your destination. Where were you going? I was going home. I lived on Fifth Avenue. You were going home? Yes, I was. And where were you coming from? Where was I coming from? Yes, did you come from a movie, a store, or what? I was coming from a friend's house. And what friend was this? What was his name? Jim Carter, Carter. Was he in the car with you at the time of the accident? Yes, he was, sir. And for what reason had you been to his house? I was just visiting over at his house. And why was he coming back with you? I was going to drive him to work. On the night of the accident? Yes, sir. All right, so last time at 180. Here we go. Now, calling your attention to the date of October 18, you were driving a car that was involved in an automobile accident. Isn't that correct? Yes, sir. At approximately what time of day or night did the accident happen? I think it was about 7 p.m. or thereabouts. All right, was it dark? I think it was, sir. Were your headlights on? I think they were. I don't recall. Were the headlights on the other car that struck you? That I wouldn't know, sir. All right, now, was the weather clear and dry? Yes. The streets were dry, weren't they? Yes, they were. Now, at the time of this accident, where were you going? I was going down Valley, that's toward Beach Boulevard, but I don't know whether it is south, east, or west. I meant, what was going to be your destination? Where were you going? I was going home. I lived on Fifth Avenue. You were going home? Yes, I was. And where were you coming from? Where was I coming from? Yes. Did you come from a movie, a store, or what? I was coming from a friend's house. And what friend was this? What was his name? Jim Carter, Carter. Was he in the car with you at the time of the accident? Yes, he was, sir. And for what reason had you been to his house? I was just visiting over at his house. And why was he coming back with you? I was going to drive him to work. On the night of the accident? Yes, sir. All right. I need to close my windows. Oh, oh, no worries. I just saw that.
Yeah, I already did. But it's still really loud for some reason.
Oh, no, I can't even hear it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't hear it at all.
That's good.
And I mute everybody. So like when I'm reading, that's why I mute. So like if you
okay.
have animals or whatever, nobody hears it. Yeah, you don't have to worry. All right. All right. So we'll go ahead and, you guys find your spot. You can read back the 225, the 200, or the 180. Okay. Everybody found it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if you want, I'll start first, okay? All right. If you need help, let me know. Okay. So question now, calling your attention to the date of October 18, you were driving a car that was involved in an automobile accident. Isn't that correct? Answer, yes, sir.
Question, at approximately what time of day or night did the accident happen? Answer, I think it was about 7 p.m. or thereabout.
Perfect. And just so you guys know, the 200 take, I accidentally said, did this accident happen? So if you have this, that's why. Because I said this on the 200 take. Okay.
Question, all right, was it dark? Answer, I think it was, sir.
Perfect. Question, were your headlights on? Answer, I think they were. I don't recall.
Question, were the headlights on the other car that struck you? Answer, that I wouldn't know, sir.
Perfect.
Question, all right. Now, was the weather clear and dry? Answer, yes.
Question, the streets were dry, weren't they? Answer, yes, they were.
Question, now, at the time of this accident, where were you going? Answer, I was going down Valley. That's toward Beach Boulevard, but I don't know whether it was south, east, or west.
Perfect.
Question, I meant what was going to be your destination? Where were you going? Answer, I was going home. I live on 5th Avenue.
Perfect. Question, you were going home? Answer, yes, I was.
Question, and where were you coming from? Answer, where was I coming from?
Question, yes. Did you come from a movie, a store, or what? Answer, I was coming from a friend's house.
Question, and what friend was this? What was his name? Answer, Jim Carter, Carter.
Question, was he in the car with you at the time of the accident? Answer, yes, he was, sir.
Question, and for what reason had you been to his house? Answer, I was just visiting. I was just visiting over at his house.
Perfect.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Yep, that's perfect. Question, and why was he coming back with you? Answer, I was going to drive him to work.
Question, on the night of the accident? Answer, yes, sir.
Perfect. Awesome job, you guys. Great job. All right. Well, you did great.
Yay.
Yes.
Yay.
Good job. Pat yourself on the back. All right. Well, so we'll have high speeds again on Friday morning from 9 to 10 if you can make it. So if you can't, you feel free to always watch the login and you can watch the recorded class.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
You guys have a great night.
You too.
You too. See you later.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.